Hi everybody, this is CJie. Today I'm gonna review what are some of the Primrose buff and my opinion on it. So this is the first time I'm reading this proper, fully translated buff that the Primrose has has received. And it is from the official Black Desert Mobile website. And I heard from my friend that the buff is not of a big deal, but we will look at it. Okay, we will look at it and we will see is there any huge changes that may affect our PvP gameplay, both in the field and in the arena, as well as our PvE capability. All right, so we will start with the developer comments, which sometimes I really don't give a damn. But we will still look at it, alright? So they say that Primrose diminishes her opponent's skill efficiently by decreasing their attack and movement speed. That is very true. That is very true. As you can see, some of a skill such as Frigid Burst and Glacier War, these two are the skill that slow the enemy movement speed, as well as their attack speed as well. And if you can watch my video, many times when I landed a combo on an enemy, they tend to move very slow. And this is the perks of using a Primrose. This is the Primrose advantage, which I need to really hugely improve on, because if you can master your crippling skill, such as slowing the opponent movement and attack speed, it can be a great advantage for you in arena, right? Of course, there are some sort of combos that me and my friend Uncle Big Fish is gonna come up with to show you how to really own in the arena with a Primrose. So yeah, please look forward to that. And let's continue. To emphasize this strength, we added a new Frost Flower skill. And this skill gives Primrose immunity against decreased attack speed, decreased movement speed, and bleed. Okay, well, to me, I think this is good. Why? Is because if me, who is a Primrose, is immune to this effect, decreased attack speed, decreased movement speed, and bleed, it is a very good advantage in the arena and in the field as well, right? Because decreased attack speed is not a huge problem, right? If you are very familiar with the Primrose class and you play her well, you are able to counter this by your mechanics, right? If your mechanics is good, be your combo, your positioning, your timing, your delay of the super armor is good, you can offset this decreased attack speed. Decreased movement speed is a good buff, because with these Frost Flowers, Primrose is a class that is a very, how do I say? Primrose is a very defensive class, right? What I mean by defensive is that it's more on waiting for the enemy to attack you first and you counter it, rather than being an aggressive class. But Primrose need the movement speed, not to chase an enemy in the arena, but more on luring your opponent to waste his super armor when attacking you, right? With good movement speed, when you are moving around in a good position, you will be able to draw the super armor skill from the enemy. And when they are offhanded, when they do not have any super armor, that's when you attack, with your quick cold snap or a Frigid Burst skill. And bleed is of course very obvious. There's a lot of class that induce a lot of bleed effects, such as Kunoichi, such as Hasashin. If you are immune to bleed, that just delay your time of death. You will have more HP and therefore slightly more chance to outplay in the arena. But of course, if you meet someone 24k CP and above, this is nonsense, right? All this buff is nonsense. No matter how immune you are to this kind of effect, you will just be dead in a second. Right, but it's still a good buff, I think, overall, especially for those new Primrose player. With this good buff, it just gives them more chance to survive in the battle, give them more sustain. But it's still, I would say, ultimately up to your own mechanic. With good mechanic, even without this buff, you will be able to win in arena, right? So a reduced damage effect will be applied while using Infinite Step and Absolute Zero. And this will give a Primrose an advantage in combat. I guess this effect, right, will benefit greatly in the field, not that much in the arena. Because if you watch my video, as well as Uncle Big Fish video, you will realize that Infinite Step and Absolute Zero, they are chain skill. What do I mean by chain is that it goes well together. And if you use Infinite Step followed by an Absolute Zero, it will reduce the animation casting time for the Absolute Zero. Therefore, it is a combo, right? It is a combo, and more often than not, when we use these two skills, the opponent is down. It is being knocked down, right? Or they are stunned. So the likelihood that they will attack us when we are using these two skills is very low. That's why we won't even receive a damage to begin with from the enemy. And these two does not have super armor. These two skills do not have super armor, and it is stupid to trade like skill using an infinite step and absolute zero with an enemy, because without super armor we will get knocked down or dazed or get CC'd every time. So, but in the field, right? In the field, these two skills has super armor, right? And if you are trading super armor with these two skills, it is good now because there's a reduced damage effect, which means now the opponent hit you less, right? It increases sustainability in the field, but not in the arena. So I would say this is a relatively good buff if you are someone who are using a Primrose to play in many like field PvP contents, like Battlefield of the Sun, like GVG, like Siege War, stuff like that. If you are using a Primrose in a mass PvP content of a Black Desert Mobile, this is a good buff, right? In order to increase Primrose mobility, we change Frigid Burst to available twice. This is one of the best buff, I think. One of the best buff for this patch. For the Primrose. Because, come on man, you see our combo, right? You see how we play Primrose in arena, me and Uncle Big Fish, right? Oh man, with this, we only have one charge for Frigid Burst before the buff, right? And with one charge, we can already achieve so much. We can already destroy so many classes. You can already destroy so many people that has higher CP than us, right? Because of our good mechanic in the Primrose. Now, with two charges for Frigid Burst, can you imagine that? What we can do? Of course, there will be a new playstyle on the Primrose in the arena. But with these two charges of Frigid Burst, right, it just prolong our super armor. Our super armor just get longer. And since Frigid Burst is a charging skill, it just also means that we can cover more distance by using two charges of Frigid Burst together. We can cover more distance, which means in terms of mass PvP content in the field, we have better chasing mobility. Or we can also have better escaping mobility, right? We can use Frigid Burst to escape in the mass PvP. We can also use Frigid Burst to chase our enemy with two charges of Frigid Burst. In the arena, with two charges of Frigid Burst, we can cover more distance. We can like stun them from a longer distance, or we can retreat back from the enemy at a longer distance. It also means that we have a longer super armor time, right? Longer super armor time, and aided a skill enhancement to Glacial Wall, right? So this Glacial Wall, right? If you use the Primrose now after the buff, you will realize that if you hold the button of the Glacial Wall, there is a skill, something like a Hasashin 11 skill, whereby you turn into an ice ball and you burrow under the ground in a ice ball, right? The skill is good in the mass PvP content, right? You'll be invincible, which means it's a good escaping mechanism. It allows you to engage into a battle and escape out of a battle, right? This engagement and disengagement in the battle, more efficiently. But in the arena, I would just think that this skill allows you to. So if you go in with a Frigid Burst and you try to stun them with a Glacial Wall, if it fails or if they have a resistance, I guess this will be a good skill for you to escape from the situation, for you to disengage. But I will test it out in arena, and I'll see how they work. If it is a good mechanism to use in arena, I'll definitely show you guys. But if it's just a mediocre stuff, I think now we'll leave it to it first, okay? We'll leave it to it first. And I need more testing to see if this does the flow of this Glacial Wall is good in arena or not, right? So the Frost Flower, okay, this is a good buff, right? I log into my game and I see I have an extra skill, which is you cannot up the skill level, it's just a passive skill. But this is the one that this buff is talking about, the first one, right? Decrease attack speed, decrease movement speed, and bleed while using skill, good. Reduce damage to adventure by 5% while using infinite step and absolute zero, which I say is good in field PvP, not arena PvP, right? Okay. So now we just look at the overall, right? As I've explained above the change in the mechanism. Now we just look at the damage buff. So Frigid Burst, right? Before it's 660%, now is 726. Is good. We just look at the PvP part, right? screw the PvE, right? Primrose has no problem in farming, right? So previously it's 462, now it's 508.2 times 2. All right, this is a huge how can I say, huge damage buff, right? But more often than not, in arena, I doubt you'll be needing 2 Frigid Bursts to stun the enemy, right? Days on second hit, right? It already has a stun on the first hit, I think. I don't know if it's a stun, a knockback, or whatever. Basically, it CC'd the enemy on the first hit. And the extra damage from the second hit might not be better than a follow-up combo with the Glacial Wall, right? After Frigid Burst, you most likely, we always want to continue with a Glacial Wall, and a Glacial Wall damage is much higher than another additional 508.2% damage from the Frigid Burst. So, but it is good in the field, right? And the initial damage, 462 to 508, is already good enough for damage buff. So, okay, I think this is a good stuff. Infinite Step, change to days on first hit to knockback on first hit. Improve the transition to absolute zero mid using this. Okay, so these first changes is not much of a different days on first hit to knockback, because we can still chain it with an absolute zero, which provides a stun, a knockdown. But now this thing, right? This just means that after using an Infinite Step, you can chain with an absolute zero more easily, right? So for those new player who want to main a Primrose and have difficulty chaining an Infinite Step to absolute zero, this is a good news for you, right? Because previously, before the Primrose buff, if you look at my video, you need a very good timing on your Infinite Step and your absolute zero to allow them to chain well, right? More specifically, you need to watch a 4-time step. The Infinite Step need to step 4 times. Then you need to immediately press the absolute zero for it to chain smoothly. But now, you just press the skill like 1 second Infinite Step and press the skill absolute zero in another second instantaneously. Immediately they will chain, right? No matter how many steps this Infinite Step give, it will automatically chain with absolute zero. So in terms of the mechanism wise, this is how to say, this provide a convenience, right, for a new Primrose player to do well in the arena. All right. So absolute zero, the damage increased by wow, this is quite a lot. 565 to 600. So if we just take an average of like 70% increase times 3, is 2,100% increase. Right. So low CP player, I guess, with the increase in the skill damage, you can do more damage now. But like I said, if you meet a whale, 24k CP and above, all this is nonsense, it's bullshit, right? You will forever deal minimum damage. Glacial Wall, damage increase as well. Same shit. And yep, this is the flow that I'm talking about. After you hold, if you hold the Glacial Wall button, right, they'll come out with a Glacial Wall, and then you'll turn into an ice ball and move forward or backward depending on the control, right? And you will be invisible. In field, right? You see, super armor during attack does not apply to arena. So, which means if you hold your Glacial Wall button and the enemy has a resistance and it casts a skill while you are turning into an ice ball, you will get fucked, right? You will get CC'd. And if you're against a high CP player, a whale, they will end you in 2 skill. So, I have to test this out in arena, right? I have to test this out. Improve the skill to allow maintaining the defensive action after defense against enemy attack was carried out. Okay, so first of all, there's an increase in damage, which is so insignificant. It's bullshit. It's alright. But the major change about this Pedal Ward is that when you use the Pedal Ward, when you click the skill the first time, right, the Primrose will hold a spear in front of her as in a defensive stance, right? If you press it one more time, that's when she'll deal an additional attack, right? She'll poke a spear out. But now, if you press the skill the first time when she's holding the spear in a defensive stance, when enemy attack you, right, she will not automatically poke her spear out to attack the enemy. She will continue to be in a defensive stance with super armor, of course, right? She won't get CC'd, but she will still receive damage. So the mechanic for using the Pedal Ward has changed, and then I assume it has provided more option and flexibility in terms of a combo that you can use when you're against enemies, especially different classes. But like it's same to the Glacial Wall. I have to test this out in the arena to see which is better, or I mean, be it staying in a defensive stand is better, or just press it 2 times to activate the second spear poking attack is better against different class. Because some class you need to be in a defensive stance, and against some other class you need the second attack to stun the enemy to follow up with a combo. So more research will be done into this Petal Ward as well as the Glacial Ward, right? Cold Snap. Improve skill transition into running to be more natural. To me, I think it's already quite natural, but I think they make it more natural because I think this helps to improve their ability in the field, right? Especially chasing ability in the Black Sun, I think, or Battlefield of the Sun, right? Just to make it more smooth, I think. Moonrise, this skill is a PvE skill, so they buff the PvE damage, so I assume you can farm faster now, or farm easier now, which is good. Frost Halo, right? Damage buff. Nothing good, right? Just damage buff. This skill, we use it in the arena after a Glacial War. We freeze them, then we often try to knock them down with a Frost Halo. Since this skill has a branch damage of Labyrinth, increase in damage, I think will be good if the Labyrinth, proc out. But if the Labyrinth didn't proc out, I mean, this 70%, this like what, 50% buff in the skill is not that significant, especially when you're against a whale. Relentless Strike, this is a nonsense skill, right? The 11th skill of a Primrose, which I don't use it both in PvE and PvP, right? It's extra, so forget about this skill. Midnight Requiem, this is my PvE skill, so they increase the PvE damage, which, yeah, same, it just make you farm better and easier in the field, right? So that's about it, and I will, like I said in my last video, I will only post new video if I get better in my Primrose, and there's a lot of testing for me to do since there is a rework on some of the skill. Overall, I think this is a mediocre buff. It's not a really good buff, but it's not that bad as well, right? At least all of a skill has a damage buff. It makes us easier, our life easier when we are farming. It makes us easier when we are dealing damage, especially if our CP is lower. And some of the skill allow us to perform better in the field, right? In the field in terms of chasing ability and escaping ability. But in terms of the arena, I don't see much changes. Of course, there are some changes like the Glacial Ward and Frigibus, as well as the Petal Ward. This is a 3 skill that I need to test it out, right? Petal Ward, Glacial Ward, and Frigibus. With Petal Ward giving us the option to have a defensive stance, Glacial Ward giving us an option to turn into an Ice Ball, and Frigibus giving us an option to use it 2 times, right? 2 charges. So I will test it out, and if I get better, I will post a video on my PvP. And till then, good luck everybody, have fun in your BDM, and good luck. Have a good day. Bye.